Welcome to the morning brief, Admiral Hagari. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for your words. It's the first time that I'm being interviewed by one of my reservist commanders here, and it's good to be with you today. And I want to start to say thank you to what FDD does, and Mr. Mark Dubovich as well. And I think what FDD does for Israel, what it does from the Middle East, is with great significance. And I want to thank you for your efforts. Before I start, I have the honor to be here with you today.
Thank you. The honor is ours. We're very happy that you're taking 20 minutes out of your extremely busy and demanding schedule. And I suggest that we get right to it. 9 months of war, a multi-front war. How would you, as a former combatant commander and now as a current spokesperson, how would you assess the IDF's achievements so far after 9 months of war have passed?
Well, nine months of war, a multi-front war, which is very right to describe it like that. People say it like we are fighting only Hamas, but we are fighting Hamas in Gaza. We are fighting in Hezbollah in Lebanon, which is an Iranian proxy. We are fighting also or being defending ourselves by the Houthis in Yemen, and also getting proxies from Syria, Iranian proxy. And we have to remember that the 13th in April is a significant day where Iran has crossed the Rubicon, firing at Israel over 350 different kind of missiles and UAVs, but over 110 ballistic missiles, which is significant thing. And also it need to be remembered as a multi-front war, as a multi-front challenge also for the future. So we have to look at each of the arenas separately and achievements, but we also need to look at it as something combined, that the Iranian regime through Hezbollah, through Hamas in a different way, through the Houthis as a proxies, has put a target to fight Israel as a country, as a democracy, as a country for Jewish people, etc. And it's in his agenda, and it will also be implemented in the future. Now we need to see how we're working in each one of the arenas with our achievements, but also looking how do we make sure that Israel stays Israel strong for the future with the challenges that Iran has revealed in the 13th of April that we might face again, and we need to be ready for that.
So, thank you. Now, we are both experienced with it, but I'm sure that the viewers are very interested. And this has been spoken about, that Israel and its military are scrutinized like no other democracy while defending itself. How crucial do you think that the efforts of the IDF Spokesperson Unit, which you command, are to retain and preserve international legitimacy for the IDF and, generally speaking, for the state of Israel during this war?
One of the arenas that we're fighting is the arena of legitimacy, the arena in the media. It will be with us for years, what's happening now. And I think when you look at that, the 7th of October massacre is one of the hardest days of Israel since the day that it was established, maybe the hardest one. And in that sense, the world, most of the world, doesn't remember the 7th of October. He remembers what he sees now on TV. He doesn't see the war as the beginning in the 7th of October and us needing to make sure that our citizens, first of all, which are hostage, will come back home. And any other country in the world will do the same. It's hard to explain that. Second thing, that we have people that are not in their homes. The country shrunk. We need to make sure that people are going back to their homes safely in the north and in the south. We need to explain it to the world. And at the same time, we need to make sure that the world knows that we're a democracy, a liberal democracy, that works according, the IDF is working according to the international law. And we are fighting a ruthless enemy, which is doing the opposite. He wants to see the destruction, the death. It's all is the ideology, is to make sure that he's using the international community's facilities like UNRWA. He's using schools. He's using hospitals. All the ideology was built in that way. And we need to face it, and we need to fight it. It's a very hard war also in this arena. It is a significant arena. This is why we have expanded. The IDF Spokesperson is a 650 people unit. We have expanded it with reserves to over 1,200. And now we're a little bit less than that. But we have expanded our international department. And Jonathan also was with us in those days. And we're doing it in multi-front languages daily with announcements, but also with briefing when needed, with press conferences when needed. And I'm doing it. I just did it today with the international reporters regarding what we have revealed with the investigation of Be'eri. We're doing it daily. And we need to do it more. And I think as a country, we need to be more organized in that field. We're the IDF, and I'm the IDF spokesperson, and I have expanded my mandate even more than what we need to do. But these are the times we don't need to ask questions, we need to do. And I'm sure that you and everybody who's watching me now is also an ambassador for Israel, and I need to give the right messaging. I need to use the people for the right messaging. There is a difference between the conservative media, which is TV, radio, and into the social media. I think in the social media, we're losing. We're not doing it good enough. And we're working at it every day with new faces in Instagram, putting new faces, young faces that will speak, but it's not enough. We need to do it more in TikTok, in Twitter, in all those platforms in order to work and create legitimacy for Israel with an enemy, ruthless enemy, that is using his own people, embedding in his own people, using them to delegitimize Israel, and we need to do the opposite. Day by day, and it's hard. I agree, give another example. You said a multi-front war. We need to make sure that everybody remembers that Hezbollah are bad, that they're using the Lebanese in southern Lebanon. They're embedding in the same way. They meant to do a 7th of October for their own border. We need to expose it. We need to make sure that everybody understands it. We need to make sure that our actions are legitimized, that people don't forget that over 60,000 people are not in their homes because of Hezbollah. We need to work on it. At the same time, we need to work against Iran, make sure that we reveal the Iranians' atrocities, the Iranian proxies. Also, again, people forgot that 110 ballistic missiles were fired on Israel because we defended us so well with CENTCOM and other partners in the region. People forgot it. We need to make sure that they remember it again and again and again.
Indeed. Yes, the challenges are definitely many, as you alluded to. Thank you. Now, for something a bit more related to the events on the ground. So, according to the current pace of operations and events in Gaza, how long do you assess that it will take Israel to achieve the main strategic goals of dismantling Hamas as a military and governing organization, and to return the hostages, and to eventually transition to the so-called day after in Gaza? What are we talking about? Weeks, months, a year?
We haven't faced this kind of a multi-front war from your first questions, and I will speak about the achievements in all of the arenas, but we haven't faced this kind of war which started with over 250 hostages, where you're fighting in the area that you have hostages in. Very, very complex, with an area that was built by an army of terror, with tunnels and a lot of problems getting inside hospitals, etc. Now, after 9 months, we are getting closer and closer to defeat Hamas as a military, meaning he does not have the capability to do another 7th of October. When we focus and look and we say defeat Hamas, we have to remember Hamas is not a conventional army. We're not fighting a conventional country. This is a terror organization. When we say defeat Hamas, we need to speak about the leadership, killing and hunting down the leaders that planned the 7th of October and are implementing the fighting. We need to kill the terrorists themselves. We already killed over 15,000. Also, the issue with the numbers is something that we need to amplify, understanding the non-combatant and the combatant and saying the right numbers, opposed to what Hamas is doing in the social media with the numbers in a different way. At the same time, which is very important, demolishing the tunnels, especially the strategic tunnels. We talked about Philadelphia, but I'm also talking about those strategic tunnels in different areas in the north, in the center, in Rafah. Dismantling the tunnels is taking a capability of survival for Hamas. So it's the tunnels, it's the commander, it's the terrorist, and it's also the force buildup, making sure that we destroy all the factories that are building the rockets and all the other gear, and we make sure, you mentioned Philadelphia corridor, that we are holding those oxygen areas that Hamas got the force buildup smuggled inside Gaza. So all of those are the meaning of defeating Hamas. This is something that needs to be understood. At the same time, I want to say a couple of words on Hezbollah. Hezbollah is also an army of terror, but Lebanon is a different country. Lebanon has a much bigger effect from the world than Gaza. It's dependent on many countries from Europe and also of the United States, not like Gaza. Well, in Lebanon, with Hezbollah, we are focusing on southern Lebanon, taking down the commanders, taking down the terrorists that are coming to do terror to Israel, firing anti-tank missiles, firing rockets, firing UAVs, taking them down, taking the capabilities and the commander that are holding the capabilities. We have killed many commanders, which is very painful for Hezbollah, very painful for Nasrallah, and where we'll keep on doing this strategy. And at the same time, taking down the targets. There are more than 100,000 Lebanese from southern Lebanon that leave the area and ran away to the north. And we will keep on attacking according to the international law from any terror base, which again, Hezbollah is embedding himself inside those houses. At the same time, we're working against threats from Syria, defending from threats from Yemen, and Iran is a different chapter to be spoken of.
Right. So I was about to ask about Lebanon, but you covered that, and I think that you gave a clear answer about what the IDF is doing. I didn't get an answer about how long it will take, but I won't insist on getting an estimate. I know that's a tough question, but perhaps to close, you just mentioned that yesterday the IDF disclosed the first after-action review conducted and signed off on by the Chief of Staff, General Halevi, about the horrible incidents of October the 7th in Kibbutz Be'eri. So following up on that, but on a bigger strategic level, what so far, I know that the after-action reviews have not been done yet, but what are the main lessons at the strategic and tactical levels that the IDF has identified so far? And how do you assess that the IDF is implementing and learning as it is fighting against these various enemies that we're facing all along our borders?
Yeah, okay. Regarding to the question, how long will it take to defeat Hamas? I need to say one word. We are determined. We are determined to work as long as it takes. It will change the faces. The way that we fight will change. We will do more raids. We will hunt them from the air. It will be different, but we are determined. We see that the military pressure is moving Hamas. Like it moved Hamas in November to ask for a deal. It's moving Hamas in the same way. And Hamas need to know that we're determined. We're not doing it only during the negotiation. We are determined to do it as long as it takes. And we need to know in the same time, and I already said it, and a little bit been criticized in the media, or the Israeli media, for that, that Hamas is an ideology of terror. It will take a long time, like we do it also in Judea and Samaria. We also fighting terrorists for a lot of time, in a long period of time, also last week and this week and next week. We will keep on doing that. So we need to understand it will also happen in Gaza, but it won't have the capability of the 7th of October. It does not have the capability of the 7th of October now. We need to make sure that it cannot build itself to the same level. At the same time, regarding to Be'eri is an example for the horrific massacre. 101 people were murdered in the kibbutz. Over 30 were taken hostage. And there are still 11 hostages from Be'eri inside Gaza, holding in Gaza in horrific conditions. So we, although it's hard, we have looked inside to say to the community what we did wrong and what we're going to fix for the future. Otherwise, people won't get to the kibbutz. So we have looked them into the eyes and told them what we did wrong, where we failed, and what we're going to fix for the future. When you look at the big macro picture, we weren't ready for this kind of a scenario. We did not think or saw in our intelligence, when we're now looking, why haven't we seen it, that they're going to do a raid, an attack in a scale of thousands of terrorists simultaneously from dozens of places in all the area of the south. We haven't saw that in the intelligence. This is one failure. We haven't saw the signs clear enough. In that day, that's another failure. And then we need to make sure, how do we defend ourselves? Not just with a fence and an obstacle, but also with forces in those areas. And we need to make sure that we understand it now, in the present, not in the future. Because we are defending the north, we are defending Judea and Samaria, we are defending many borders. We need to understand those lessons learned now. This is why we're doing it now, although it's hard and during a war to do that. And some of the stuffs are like, how do you say it, a black swan, like a Pearl Harbor black swan in that sense. And we need to look into the failure, into the eyes of the failure, and say, we're responsible, but at the same time, we're learning, we're fixing, we are building the trust with our own citizens that felt we did not defend them in that day. And we need to build the trust, because the IDF is the army of the people. It's a mandatory service. It's a service with the reservists. They need to know that we are telling the truth, even when it's hard, that we are looking into our own failures, saying the failures, fixing the failures, taking responsibility, making sure that they know the implementation.
Thank you for that. And if I may add, Admiral, I think that your voice of clarity, of trustworthiness, of honesty and responsibility is very important in today's Israeli society, most importantly towards the Israeli public, but also towards the world. And I'd like to thank you for that, for what you're doing in what must be one of the most thankless jobs in the IDF or in the state of Israel. So I'd like to thank you for that. Thank you for your time and for sharing your expertise and insights with us. And thank you for your kind words to FTD. And we wish you a Shabbat Shalom, and hopefully one with few press releases, and most importantly, no releases of fallen Israeli soldiers. Thank you, Admiral.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.